Hi, we're into Monday morning and it's the second week of our very rigid measures around social confinement and restriction around what we can do in our daily lives. And I know for many of us that have been through any kind of mental health illness, but particularly with eating disorders, our black and white thinking, if that's the best way to put it, makes it really difficult to deal with a change in circumstances such as we're finding right now. And the reality is, there isn't anything we can do to change that. We can't change the government's decision around when lockdown might end, begin, how much further in the future we might wait until we get a semblance of normality back into our lives. So I think the important thing at the moment is we have to focus on what we can do rather than worry about that which we can't. The things that we can do, of course, are to put some regime, some routine into our life that allow us to function day to day and stop that overwhelm and anxiety from completely consuming us. It's where we panic about what the future might look like and try to overanalyze it and try to second guess what the world might look like. That's where this enormous sense of anxiety is allowed to creep in. But we can do small measures that just make it a little bit easier to get through every day. And it really, from speaking to people who are managing difficult relationships right now, who are trying to juggle being an at-home mum with two children that have finished school early, and so they're trying to homeschool as well as run or work in a business. For all of us right now, the best thing we can do is take things a day at a time and have routines and plans and intentions that help us move forward. So what might that look like? Well, on a daily basis, you might just say to yourself, okay, so here's the time limit by which I will get up, I will have some breakfast, I will get dressed, I will have my shower, I will be dressed, whether I do my hair, do my makeup, but by 8 o'clock or whatever it is, regardless of whether I haven't got to go out to work or see anybody as I normally would, I'm still going to feel dressed and ready to face the world. And then on top of that, it's about things like putting something into the day that you can feel is something you'll get to, tea time, bedtime, and think that was an accomplishment. Now, that might be specifically related to your eating disorder. So you might decide, I am really going to work on my eating disorder while we're in this strange time. And every week that goes on, I'm going to implement another snack, or I'm going to slightly increase my calorie intake, or I'm going to look at distraction techniques that mean that I'm no longer obsessing about food or over-exercising. So think about what you could do that help you to grow, develop, and move forward, even when it feels like we're in a real period of stagnation and uncertainty. So give yourself those tasks. And among those, have some practical tasks, because I don't know about you, but I found that my eating disorder was very much tied up in about how I validated myself. A level of productivity was important. Now, for those of you that have been studying and all of a sudden study is kind of stopped because you've no longer got to revise for exams, or those of you that have been working and now haven't got to be in a job to the extent that you were, finding validation elsewhere could be important. Now, that could be as simple as saying, I've got 3 books on my bookshelf that I haven't touched in 18 months. They need dusting off and I want to get through those books. So it could just be saying, I'm going to complete a chapter a day. Or it could be saying, I really don't tackle my personal admin and I really need to get on top of that. So I'm going to file everything away. Or it could be creating a mood board for yourself, a kind of scrapbook vision of when we all get back to normal, what would it look like? What would you want to be doing in your life? So is that about holidays? So might you want to even kind of think about what that might be in the future? It will give you something to distract your mind and allow you to create a future focus rather than being stuck in that moment of this anxiety and fear about what might come. So there's quite a mix of things there about trying to shift the mindset into something more positive, where we're just about to start another week of being really quite confined and restricted. And the key focus is think less about what you cannot change and which causes you a great deal of anxiety, and shift that into what can I change, what can I do that helps me move forward every day and improves my mental health and my well-being. I really hope that helps.